In 1984, Coca-Cola made a decision that saved them hundreds of millions of dollars. They swapped out a single ingredient in their flagship drink. They didn't mention it in any ad. The taste barely changed, but that year, that exact year, the obesity graph in America went absolutely vertical. The chart looks like a hockey stick, a flat line for decades, then a sudden, almost unnatural spike straight up. Take a look at these old beach photos from the 70s. Now look at what beaches look like today in 2025. Notice anything? People look different. And I'm not talking about swimsuit trends. In 1970, 15% of American adults were obese. Today, 42%. Scroll through any comment section under a chart like this and you'll find the same explanation every time. People got lazy. Nobody cooks anymore. Everyone's just sitting on the couch with a remote and a bag of chips. Your grandma walked 5 miles to school, and you're ordering DoorDash from your bed. It's a neat theory. There's just one problem. It doesn't hold up to basic logic. A nation's gene pool doesn't mutate in 40 years. Americans didn't wake up one morning with different DNA. The people stayed the same. What changed, completely unrecognizably, was what ended up on their plates. Specifically, one thing got added to the food: high fructose corn syrup. Today it's in your bread, your ketchup, your yogurt, your salad dressing. It's everywhere. And the fact that it's everywhere, that's not an accident. Behind it are names, corporations, and a whole lot of money. To understand where this syrup came from, we need to go back to Richard Nixon's America, early 70s. Picture this. You walk into a regular grocery store, grab some beef, bread, milk, and at checkout you realize everything's gone up by a third in the past year. You're furious. Your neighbors are furious. The whole country is furious. And when there's an election 2 years out, a president feels that kind of anger in his bone. So Nixon appoints a new Secretary of Agriculture, a man named Earl Butz. Remember that name because this is the guy who set off a chain reaction that would eventually reshape what 300 million Americans eat. Butz was a man with one big idea, and he pushed it with the zeal of a preacher. His philosophy boiled down to 4 words: get big or get out. Before him, the government actually paid farmers not to plant on extra land. Sounds crazy, but there was logic to it. Limited supply kept prices stable and let small farms survive. Butz flipped the entire system on its head. He rammed through the 1973 Farm Bill, which tied subsidies to volume. The more corn you grew, the bigger your check from Uncle Sam. Midwest farmers planted corn on every last inch of dirt, fence row to fence row, as they put it. By the late 70s, America was drowning in corn, literally. Silos were overflowing. Grain was rotting in open fields. The price had crashed below the cost of growing it. The country desperately needed somewhere to dump millions of tons of cheap raw material. And that's when the people who had the answer walked onto the stage. Meet the real power players behind American food: ADM and Cargill. 2 giant corporations you've probably never heard of. They are perfectly comfortable operating behind the scenes, quietly filling 80% of your fridge with their ingredients. Just to give you an idea of their scale, Cargill alone is the largest privately held company in the United States. If it went public, it'd be sitting right next to Apple and Google. They're the ones who figured out what to do with that mountain of corn. They took a Japanese technology, an enzyme process that converts ordinary cornstarch into a thick, sweet syrup. In plain English, you take dirt cheap corn, run it through a chemical process, and out the other end comes a sugar substitute that costs a fraction of the real thing: HFCS. But cheap syrup alone wasn't enough. They needed to take out the competition, regular cane sugar. Enter the Corn Refiners Association, the trade group representing big corn. According to Open Secrets, they poured millions into campaign donations and deployed an army of lobbyists on Capitol Hill. And it worked. Congress slapped massive tariffs on imported sugar. Cane sugar from Brazil became artificially expensive overnight, and corn syrup, already cheap thanks to subsidies, became the most cost-effective sweetener on the market, by far. Corporate America smelled the opportunity instantly. In 1980, Coca-Cola started testing HFCS at select bottling plants. By 1984, they had made the full switch. Pepsi followed, then General Mills, then Kraft. Why? It wasn't about taste. As Michael Pollan laid out in The Omnivore's Dilemma, the price difference was so massive that for Coca-Cola alone, the switch meant saving hundreds of millions of dollars a year on just one brand. With numbers like that, what this syrup might be doing to the human body? Nobody in the boardroom was asking that question. And this is where the economics end and the biology begins. To understand what's really going on, think of your body as a system that was fine-tuned over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. In nature, sugar always comes packaged, bundled with fiber, like in an apple, which acts as a brake during digestion. And sucrose, regular table sugar, is like a sealed package where glucose and fructose are bonded together, 50-50. High fructose corn syrup tears up that natural contract. There's no fiber. There's no packaging. Not only are the glucose and fructose molecules already separated, just floating around loose, but manufacturers actually skew the ratio, loading in extra fructose. That's what HFCS 55 is. And all of this comes in liquid form. So what happens when you drink it? With zero barriers in the way, free fructose slams into your bloodstream like a tidal wave. Your liver can't process that kind of flood, so the only thing it can do is convert the excess directly into fat. But here's the worst part. Because of this broken delivery system, your brain never gets the memo that calories just arrived. Your satiety hormone, leptin, stays silent. You drink 140 calories from a can of soda, and your internal fuel gauge still reads empty. You don't feel like you ate anything, you just want more. Food scientists have a name for this. They call it the bliss point, a precisely engineered dose of sweetness where everything tastes incredible, but the stop signal never comes. Let's come down from the world of molecules and Washington back offices, down to an actual American grocery store. Meet Maria. She's 34, lives in Houston, works as a cashier at Walmart, and is raising 2 kids on her own. After rent, utilities, and transportation, she's got about $150 a week left for food, for 3 people. Maria is standing in the breakfast aisle. On the left, oatmeal, honey, fresh berries. A breakfast with no HFCS. On the right, a box of kids' cereal where corn syrup is the second ingredient on the label. Oatmeal with honey and berries for 3, that's $8 to $12. The box of cereal, $3. Next aisle over, beverages. Real juice, no additives, $5. A bottle of sweet juice drink loaded with HFCS, $1.20. Maria puts the cereal in the cart. With her budget, that choice was made before she even walked through the door. But why are the HFCS products 3 times cheaper? Every 5 years, Congress passes the Farm Bill, the law that controls subsidies. Every April, Maria files her taxes. A chunk of that money goes to the federal budget. From there, billions flow to Cargill, ADM, and other giant corporations in the form of corn subsidy. Those corporations turn that subsidized corn into cheap syrup and pump it into the exact cereal and juice drinks Maria puts in her cart, because she literally can't afford anything else. Fast forward 10 years, Maria's 44, she has type 2 diabetes. Her doctor prescribes insulin that costs her $200 a month. Even with insurance, Maria paid for her disease twice. First through the taxes that made junk food cheap, then again at the pharmacy, and the food giants profited on both ends of that chain. Maria is a composite character, but every detail in this story is real. Right now, someone is standing in front of that same shelf, making that same choice. The decisions made in the early 70s set a machine in motion, and that machine is still running today. Maybe back then it made sense. Cheap food seemed like a lifeline, but it's been 50 years, and nobody hit the brakes. According to the CDC's 2024 data, 42% of American adults are obese. 37 million people are living with diabetes. Treating diabetes alone costs this country $412 billion a year. All of this is a direct consequence of a business model where corporate profits were prioritized over human health. Nobody planned an epidemic, it's just that nobody had an incentive to stop one. The one thing you can do right now, today, is flip the package over and read the ingredients. Look for the words high fructose corn syrup. The food giants figured out a long time ago that people were catching on. They got so scared that in 2010, they actually petitioned the FDA to legally rename this stuff corn sugar, just so we'd stop being afraid of it. Thankfully, that rebrand got shut down, and they couldn't hide the real ingredient. And look, I'm not saying regular sugar is some kind of health food. Anything in excess is going to hurt you, but if you want something sweet, eat a piece of fruit. Choose honey. Yeah, honey has sugar too, but at least it's a natural product with enzymes and micronutrients. Not a lab-engineered concentrate stripped of every natural safeguard. Next time you see those old beach photos from the 70s, don't think those people had more willpower, or were more athletic, or were just less lazy. They were simply lucky enough to live before the system decided their health was worth less than a surplus of corn. Drop a comment. Where have you found corn syrup in foods where it has absolutely no business being? In bread, in pasta sauce, in that box of kids' cereal with a smiling tiger on the front? If this video makes you look at your grocery cart a little differently next time, then it was worth making. I'll see you in the next one.
1984, the year the formula flipped. No fiber, no warning, just the poison you sip. Subsidized by the dollar, weaponized on the shelf. They traded a nation's health to multiply their own wealth. Hit the bliss point, brain says give me some more. The shadow kings are winning in the grocery store. Check the label.